Lave Radio, transmitting to every corner of the galaxy.
Do you suffer from problems with incontinence? If you do, then our pee pads are for you! Yes, Commander, your very own pee pad while you're out there exploring in the universe. Then you can go whenever you feel the need. No need for a toilet pesking back there and then having to wonder, how do they deal with the poop? No, you just go in the pad and discard it at your local station. Let them worry about the physics of disposing of sewage in space. That's not your problem, Commander.
project was our last best hope for news. A self-contained podcast 2 hours long, located in neutral territory. A place of nonsense and innuendo for forum dads, community members and developers. A shining beacon in space, all alone on a Tuesday night. It was the dawn of the third chapter of Elite. The year's space legs came upon us all. This is the story of the last of the Lavian stations. The year is 3307. The name of the place? Lave Radio.
Greetings, Commanders, and welcome to episode 350 of Lave Radio, the show that likes to talk about the universe of Elite and the fantastic community that's around it. I'm your host, Commander Phoenix of Fire, Chief Archivist of Lave Station, otherwise known as Colin Ford. And joining me in the Orange Sidewinder Bar for this episode, we have our usual Head of Health and Safety, Commander Edelweiss, otherwise known as Ben Moss Woodward.
Is it all right if I go and have a bath in a water box now?
Staff Liaison Officers, Commander Psykit.
I'm already in the bath. Getting ready for later.
You just to clean off that filth, are we? Yeah, right.
Oh yes.
And our Inhuman Resources Director, Commander Shan.
Hello, and all the rain and cooling temperatures here are going into the water bath.
I will apologise in advance. I put a post on the forums where I made a mistake. One simple typo, but if you know the forums, you can't actually edit the title of any post. So instead of
reading, Colin is the button of all jokes.
Yes. So instead of reading, is it a bug or an error between pilot's chair and joystick? It came out, is it a but or an error between pilot's chair and joystick? And may I just say thank you to the Elite community for the wonderful feedback that was supplied to that.
I sort of have images of a Bart Simpson giggling at all the butts, Colin.
Yes, it's see more butts. Yes, that's it.
Well, I'm sure we'll see more butts later on in the show if what Psykit's maybe reading.
Don't get too excited already. Just let it simmer. You don't want to get too excited too early, Shan. It's okay.
Right, well, if you wish, you can join us live. We're hanging out in game, in open, around Lave Station, at the Orange Sidewinder. Well, actually, no, just at Lave Station, actually. And if you can't get to us in-game, you can join the Twitch chat channel, which you can access through laveradio.com/live. Click on the live chat. Or you can go straight to twitch.tv/laveradio, or go to YouTube, or go to Facebook, look up Lave Radio, and we'll be broadcasting right there. So, we'll just quickly go around the crew, see what they have been up to this week, and we'll start with Commander Psykit.
Melting, actually melting. We in non sat at my desk working on the computer things that I have done. I nearly fainted in the range on Sunday. That was fun. It's so hot. So hot, and I don't go out very often. So the anxiety that was brought on by leaving my house and also being out in those temperatures, I was like in the range saying to husband, I have to go, we have to go now, otherwise I'm gonna faint. But we have a new on our backyard has been completely overhauled this week, and it looks bloody lovely. And I'm just waiting for furniture and plants and stuff, and doing like grown-up things rather than playing computer games. But playing computer games, we've done. I've been playing a lot, and this is completely your fault as well, Colin. I've been playing a lot of Star Wars X-Wing miniatures on Tabletop Simulator. It's bloody wonderful, and I love it.
Yes, that game has cost me a lot of money.
Yeah,
So it's like a little model addictive cocaine. That's what it
the
is.
thing is, we've got. I'm looking at boxes and boxes of the actual miniature stuff. But playing it on Tabletop Simulator is so much easier because it doesn't have all the faff of getting it out and putting it away. Great, but I highly recommend checking it out on Tabletop Sim. I won my first game on Sunday, and I was incredibly happy about it.
Yes, well, I am the proud owner of a Rebel Corvette, which, if you've seen the size of that model, is unbelievable, and it takes so long to set up and put away. It's unbelievable. It's incredible. Almost as much as Star Wars Armada, which is even worse. But we won't go into that here. Okay, Shan.
Oh gosh, where to start? Been doing lots of grown-up things this week, so that's been a bit boring. Mrs. Shan has taken eldest Mini Shan girlfriend and youngest dog to the Lake District, so they're camping. So good for them. Leaving me at home with eldest dog. Today is also mine and Mrs. Shan's 30th wedding anniversary, so I'm feeling really old now.
What, today?
Yeah.
And she's letting you do this instead of you actually going out and having a nice meal or something like that.
She's in the Lake District.
Oh, of course.
Then nice meals and stuff come later. I mean, it's just a day, isn't it? It doesn't really matter per se. It's just an excuse to go out and have a meal and afterwards, isn't it? Really, wedding anniversaries. So yeah, well, anything in game. I haven't really been playing anything really. Been too busy doing grown-up stuff really, and melting as is everyone else. Apart from now, when someone in the next village annoyed Thor and given us a thunderstorm. So
nice one.
It's great. Yeah, well, long may it continue. I've also, like Sire, I've been out sort of shopping, and it's quite strange, really, because there's like a strange no man's land of shops. Went into the local motorway service station to get KFC yesterday, and all the one-way systems have gone, and all the perspex is gone, and it's all like that. And then I went to McDonald's today, and it's tighter than what it was when we had lockdown. So it's all rather surreal, really. But so I'm still being a good boy and keeping my mask on and social distancing from people. So
I'm just wondering whether or not the person in the other village that annoyed Thor said, "Oh no, I really liked the last episode of Loki."
I actually quite like Loki, actually. But
oh no, I
the
think
last episode was great. What are you talking about?
Has anyone said they didn't like it?
It's the best Doctor Who there's been since Chris Chibnall took over.
I would be tempted to agree with you there.
Actually, you know what? I agree with that. I have no problem. I have one of the. I think that I was really enjoying the Loki series, and then just the last episode just did me. I went, oh,
that's a shame.
You didn't like the last episode.
I didn't like the last episode.
What a setup, though! What a setup!
A fantastic setup.
That last episode is the most divisive one that I've seen so far, because some people, you either adored it for what it was, or you completely hated it.
I never realised it was a Marmite episode.
Probably was.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying it was bad. It's just I felt a little let down. The rest of it is absolutely fantastic. But
how can you be let down by that interpretation of Kang the Conqueror? was freaking amazing.
I think you just spoiled it for people there, Ben.
I think
don't
we need
give
to
a shit.
spoiler
They've had a
alert
week.
this.
They've had a week to watch it. They could have done it over now.
I am looking forward to What If, though, the next series.
Oh
Oh,
god,
yeah.
yeah, that was amazing. And
So
it's
we'll-
been set
we'll
up
be-
as like proper MC. Anyway,
Yeah.
I could go on.
We're actually, yeah, we'll actually see a proper Captain Britain. Anyway, well, an alternative Captain Britain, not the real one. Not that anybody ever cares about
I
Captain Britain.
thought that was Boris.
No, that's Captain Calamity.
I thought it was Captain Underpants.
Do not insult Captain Underpants by comparing him to Boris Johnson. Captain Underpants has much more integrity.
And intelligence.
So yeah, but he's lost his
And
sidekick.
pants.
He's lost his
At least he can
sidekick.
keep it in his pants.
Yeah, the thing is, he's lost his sidekick, Blind Robin, hasn't he?
Blind Robin stabbing him in the back. But less about British politics. Ben,
So I've done a fair amount of adulting. I can't give too many things away, but it's my and my wife's 10-year anniversary in a couple of weeks' time, and I've been making arrangements for that. And yeah, I hope the wife appreciates what I've done.
The secret to a good wedding anniversary is to forget.
Well, forget the fact it's your anniversary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd have any choice in that matter. So yeah, that's my adulting stuff I've done. I haven't done it, but the landlord of the place of the room I live in Birmingham went out and basically hired some poor bastards who over the weekend went off and took down this tree that's basically big and trying to fall down into our garden and our neighbor on either side of the house's gardens. So that had to be dealt with. And those poor lads were up a tree in the heat over the weekend. So they were being supplied with water and ice cream and various frozen produce.
Didn't you offer to help them with a chainsaw?
Oh, fuck no. I'm not going
Ben.
out there. There's yellow ball of fire in the sky.
Well, yes, the fuel scoops have been on most of the week, but come on, opportunity to play with the chainsaw. Just give them 10 quid.
I've already
have a
played
go
with
with-
chainsaws. I've already played with chainsaws.
Is that why you play one-handed now?
That's for other reasons. That's for reasons that Psykit and Katiana might be getting into later.
Okay, you've been a second chapter.
I think Kat's on a third chapter now. And game-wise, I wanted to go and do the CG,
Mhm.
and then I looked at the CG and thought, "Fuck that."
A lot of people have done that.
So I didn't do the CG because I was reading it. I was like, okay, yeah, I want to go and help the NMLA out. Okay, yeah, the NMLA are the underdogs. I don't care about that. And then I saw what I had to do, and I just noped out of that.
Yes.
So instead I went off and played some Cyberpunk, and so I'm doing a replay of that, and the patches it's received between Christmas and now have turned a game which for me was relatively playable into a game that is incredibly playable now.
But having a 5800 Ryzen and a 3800 Ti probably helps a little bit as well.
That's certainly not going to hurt matters, yes.
So, just out of interest, Ben, has this improved your Odyssey FPS?
My Odyssey FPS on planets was still hovering around 30. But I'm outside of Lave Station Bar at the moment. No, I'm outside the bar in my spaceship at the moment, and I'm 60 FPS. I can go somewhere planetside a lot. I can hop over to DSO and I can have a look, but it's improved it, but not by a lot.
Yes.
But we can get some live results if you want.
Yeah, we'll be talking about all that kind of stuff later. Right. Anything else happen, Ben?
Yeah, I think that's about it. Oh, I did see Jeff Bezos leaves the planet for a wee bitty. That was quite good.
Oh, I can't believe that. I mean, not the Jeff Bezos thing. The guy who paid 30 million then didn't go for scheduling issues. I mean, what kind of scheduling issues stopped you going into
No,
space?
who was this Oliver guy from the Netherlands who went?
Hang on, did they just give away free seats or something? Or did they have to pay for them? Because I
think
know
his boss
one
paid
person
for it.
went up.
I think the Dutch guy's boss paid for it, but I'm not sure how he got on the on the
Right.
ship. But yeah, I just
Yeah,
can't believe it.
there was the four of
Scheduling
them.
issues.
Was there meant to be a fifth person or something, Shan?
No, this Dutch guy went instead, I think.
Okay, so that Dutch guy went instead, right? I mean, I just think it's completely classy offering the seat to Wally. I think that is so.
Yes,
don't
that
get me
was
wrong. I
fantastic.
like and I respect Richard Branson. I think their take of their vehicle is incredibly impressive, and their I think their overall experience as a bajillionaire passenger is going to be second to none. But what Blue Origin did today was incredibly classy. And it might look like a dildo, but you're still getting into a rocket ship rather than flying onto a glorified airplane.
Who else thought of the spitting image sketch with Bezos, Branson, and Elon Musk going to Mars with all this?
One thing, did you notice that Elon Musk was actually at Richard Branson's thing when he went off into space?
I tell you what other people noticed as well was that the crew of the Bezos ship they arrived at the launch pad in a Rivian electric vehicle, not a Tesla.
I'm sorry, that rocket just reminded me of the bit when Dr. Evil takes off from his mountain lair.
Yeah,
it just so does, doesn't it?
It really does. It's definitely a pocket rocket.
Yes, well, I'm tempted to play the Mike Myers thing, but I won't this time. Right, let's see, what have I been up to this week? Well, I actually have been playing an awful lot of Odyssey, which is one of the reasons why I made a butt of myself. Because I couldn't get one of the missions to work, and it turns out it is a bug. But I've been going through every single mission to find out whether or not I enjoy them. And yes, how come the illegal let's massacre everybody missions are so much fun? That's not right. It's not right. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing in Elite. Unfortunately. And also I started doing the Colin for Colonia stream again. Yes, so on a Thursday night and a Sunday night, I am flying all the way out to Colonia in my Imperial Clipper with only a 20 light year jump range, and stopping at every biological planet there is. Just
to live?
No. This defeats the point, Shan. I'm being a masochist.
Go in a Sidewinder.
I tried that before, but the Sidewinder didn't last. Mostly because
you couldn't fly it and you crashed it.
No, my son thought, "Oh, what's this Elite Dangerous game on his Xbox?" found my Sidewinder, which was halfway to the Colonia, took off in it, and flew it into a sun. So I got sunned by my son.
Oh, that reminds me, Colin. How's Xeno Bunny?
Thumper is fine. He's at the moment, he's suffering from the heat, actually. He's just basically this ball of fur that's kind of passed out in the garden. But apart from that, he's fine.
Has the head crab fallen off yet?
No, he's fine. Although the vet was a bit worried about him before.
Do bunnies sort of like, are they okay getting into baths of cold water and things?
Try it, Colin. Pick it up and toss it into a bath of cold water until it does, and then let us know.
We've already
recommend that you don't do that. Thanks.
We had to actually bathe him when he was ill a couple of weeks ago. That was an experience I do not want to repeat.
I'll hose it down then.
No, I'm not hosing him down at all. It's not an it, it's a him. A very nice, fluffy, quiet him.
Oh, it's a drone Xeno bunny, not a queen.
You're obsessed with... What is it? Is he obsessed with rabbits? What else could be obsessed with rabbits?
Foxes.
No, I was thinking more smutty, but we'll leave that one alone. So,
Where was your mind, Colin?
I'm trying to work this out as well.
moving on.
It wasn't. I totally got it.
Somehow I knew Psykit
Were you thinking of rabbits that run wild, or a single word name for running wild?
You know what, Shan? It's one of these questions. It's one of these statements where if you have to ask, I don't think you'll ever know. So let's move on. So the development news. What have the devs been saying this week? Well, last week there were some weapon engineering recipe fixes which came out. That was on top of the server-side fixes they put out to a couple of the missions. So thankfully, anybody who's been doing the restoration missions of bases where the base was also on fire, those all now work. I know because I've been testing them for quite a while, trying to get access to an engineer. But apart from that, there hasn't been much in the way of news about update 6 at all. We had obviously Welcome to Thursday Night, which was basically CQC night on YouTube. We also had the Azimuth Saga recap, which we also missed last week, and some other people are beginning to understand now, I see from the chat room, which gave a nice recap of where we are with the new Thargoid / Guardian storyline with Sanctuary and Aegis and all the rest of it. And of course, we had Super Cruise News 42 today, which I must admit, as soon as they said we're not going to talk about anything about any updates, I just immediately switched off.
So it's Super Cruise not news then, isn't it, really?
It's community news.
It's community news, isn't it? And I don't know what they've announced for this Thursday.
It's open in Odyssey. I think they're probably wanting to re-emulate that sphere of combat again.
Right. Okay. So if you want to shoot people on foot, go ahead. That'll be a laugh. Anyway, so not much going on this week, to be honest. It's just a case of we do know that there'll be a developer update at the end of the month, so that's at least a week and a half away. What does everybody think? A week on Thursday?
Probably Wednesday. If I was going to bet, I would bet that it would either be Wednesday or Friday next week that it comes out.
So this will be a forum post, not a live stream again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be both.
If it comes out on the day before a live stream, so if it came out on a Wednesday, then they would more than likely talk about it on the Thursday, which is what they've done historically.
Could they also get a dev on the Thursday live stream too, to maybe do some active Q&A or something? Because it did feel like they said they learned the lesson from last month's developer post, but I also think that we've all said having it as a forum post made a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then there is also sense for having the interaction between a dev who can actually say something and knows something and the community too.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's nice when you sometimes get Dav pop in to explain what's happening with the background simulation and things like that. But somehow I got a sneaking suspicion if you bring in a dev to talk about the particular area of expertise, you'll know that area of expertise will be ready to go They're not going to bring in somebody when they've got work that, it's not ready yet. Which it's one of the frustrating things about Super Cruise News is it's gone back to that we'll let you know as soon as we know kind of thing, and I don't think the community takes that anymore at the moment.
No, it's a bit sad, really, that certainly from someone sort of looking in, that they just don't seem to be reading the mood music that well at the moment. They're almost like doing their own thing,
Mm.
and I'm hoping that everyone else goes along with it without. I don't know. At this point, I don't really know what they can do to try and get more people on side, but I just hope they do.
I don't think it's possible, to be honest. But looking at I've been following the progress of the Steam charts number of players, and the player numbers seem to have bottomed out and gone up a little bit more now. So we're at the same player levels of about 3 years ago. So just before Fleet Carriers came out. So that's yeah.
Well, in that respect, then, if there's nothing they can do, they may as well do what suits them, because it doesn't matter anyway. If you see what I mean, they might as well do what they're comfortable with and just go along with whatever they're doing, because it's not going to make it any worse, is it? Or any?
Yeah, I think at the moment we've lost. I think if Steam charts has got to be believed, we've lost 2/3 of the player base.
Personally, I don't. Steam charts are a good indication, but they're not gospel, because I don't know about you, but I don't play Elite through Steam. I go through the Frontier launcher.
I do both, so I got one account on Steam and one account without. So yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. It could be update 6 will fix a lot of performance issues and people will come back, but we'll cross that bridge when it comes to it. So
sorry, Colin. I was going to mention one thing about the excuse me, about the update 6. They haven't said anything about it yet, have they?
No, they haven't. In fact, they keep on saying we'll talk about it later. Sorry about this, Psykit.
So I've just been reliably informed that on Super Cruise News today, I was streaming, so I didn't hear it, but he said that they were really keen to bring devs back onto the stream, but they haven't been able to do it recently because of how busy the devs are. And that's what Zach said today.
Right, okay. Well, when you actually look at the number of fixes that they've been putting in over the last 6 weeks, you can understand. And Ben.
So one thing that the devs have been doing, the community managers have been doing that's been incredibly smart of them, I think, is turning on. They basically posted, "Hi, I'm Zach. It's a lovely sunny morning. Why don't you talk to me today?" And Sally did exactly the same last week a couple of times, or at least once, maybe a couple of times. I've not seen Bruce do it, but I've definitely seen a post like that from Sally and one from Zach, and I thought, you clever CM. Because it's just turned into a warm, fuzzy place, one thread where the CM's actively checking. The mood has been lovely, and they've been able to say, "I'm sorry, we can't answer that," in just one place rather than all over the forums. And I think it was a really nice. I think it's a really clever idea by this community team, and I'm very glad they've done it, because it's been nice. It's been fun.
Yeah, it is. I must admit, the community team have been going above and beyond the Call of Duty. I think, especially managing a lot of the lots of the fun that's been happening on the forums. Shan, you got to talk about the engineering fixes.
Yes, it was quite interesting to look through the patch notes for the engineering changes or fixes, because as I read it, they've changed the amount, the sorts of the numbers of items that spawn in order to simplify the recipes, and then also made sure the recipes match the requirements. That's correct, isn't it?
Yeah.
What they haven't done yet, and which personally I think is sorely needed, is review the requirements for the recipes. So they haven't actually reduced the grind; they have clarified it. And if I remember rightly, they have said that at this time they're not going to look at the amounts for engineering. Is that correct? Because I think it is.
I don't know about the what they've said about the engineering fixes. I must admit, I must have missed that one. Right. Moving on from there. Well, let's see what in-game events have been happening this week. Well, as Ben has already mentioned, the Marlinist colonies are facing political division, which involves a CG for getting stuff together for the elections. The Como crew has started production of a new drug, which is an available one, available commodity from that you can now trade. There was also yesterday talk about the galactic mysteries of the Far God cult. Now, this was a thread that just seemed to die a death or just fizzle out some 2 years ago. I'm surprised it actually has made a comeback. It's nice to see that they're actually picking up these missing threads. Psykit?
It's interesting. It's it was really early on in my let's go and have a look at some lore places that I think Grinning Crow mentioned to me. Or you go and if you want somewhere sort of that's standalone and kind of has a resolution when you check a Galnet message that happened like probably a couple of months after. It's all pretty self-contained. So to see them spring back up again after God knows how many years, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I must admit, that is quite interesting that they've brought that back. And the IHO have done a report on the new Onion Head variant, which has happened today. Variant seems to be the word of the year so far, what with Loki and obviously other things. Shan.
Well, I was going to say at the Far God cult, it's been so long, somehow in my brain, I'd associate the Far God cult with Tharg the Mighty and Pete Wotherspoon.
Yeah.
But it's good they pull back these old stories, because there's so much left dangling. I mean, there's more left dangling than in some of this fan fiction that Sai's been aching to read.
Oh boy. Yes, fine. Other things to mention is that there was a Thargoid attack in the Pleiades sector PD-S B4-0 with Leasu Dock coming under attack. The Anti-Xeno Initiative have managed to basically give them a good kicking. So next week, I imagine the Operation Ida will be in full flow, fixing Lacey Dock. So there's something if you want to get hauling. Although it does mean that the station is still on fire if people want to do rescue missions. So that should be still running for the next couple of days. Right. I guess it's that time of the week.
Store alert! In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. In the bi-weekly newsletter, here come paint jobs for your art. A store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert, a store alert. Which one will you buy? A store alert, 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 a store alert.
And welcome back. Well, the newsletter had three things you can buy for your arcs. They had the Imperial Clipper aquatic paint job, which I must admit, anything with an Imperial Clipper on it, I do quite like. So if you want,
Find out what happened to Nemo.
yes, we've found Nemo. So if you want your Imperial Clipper to look like a clownfish, that's there you go. We now have the Manticore Assault Rifle Inquisitor weapon style, which basically looks like Kylo Ren's helmet from Rise of Skywalker.
I've blocked that. I can't remember what it looks like.
Yeah, you're just thinking Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda, Baby Yoda.
Grogu, not
Yeah.
Baby Yoda.
And finally, we have the Motherlode Fisher suit style. These guys look like rebel troopers to me.
No, they
Or
look like Space Samurai.
Sub-Zero.
I'm getting Sub-Zero more than Rebel Troopers, but yeah. I'm waiting for it to flip around again.
Am I being hot and grumpy to say that I'm particularly nonplussed with these store alert things? Because the aquatic paint job should have been on a dolphin. Nemo looks nothing like an Imperial Clipper, and if they did, one of the nacelles on the Clipper should be broken and damaged.
You can already get it on a dolphin.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Can you?
Yeah.
Well, it needs to have a damaged nacelle anyway. If you're gonna have
Oh, right. I see what you're getting at. Yeah.
The gun stuff, they look kind of cool, but who actually sees and looks at the guns to think, oh, well, that's a pretty gun?
Me?
I don't.
Yes, that's because Ben missed out on the fantastic pink weapons that were there before because he likes getting pink weapons out.
And yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Fisher suit style. It just, I'm sorry. That
Yeah,
just
you know what it looks like? It's almost like a bounty hunter weapon, I think, from it's almost like a bounty hunter suit from Star Wars. Rather than
I wasn't going with that. It
you know
looks
the
like
guy who's the bounty hunter who basically uses his hat as a shield.
Oh my God, I have no idea.
that's odd job, isn't it?
No, it's not Oddjob from 007. One of the bounty hunters in Clone Wars, I think, uses his hat as a weapon and shield. I'm not thinking Cad Bane, I know that.
Answers in chat if you know who that is. I think.
Oh my
It's
goodness,
something
already
like-
Liu Kang, it says.
I'm gonna have to look up. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I mean, the suit to me. I don't know if you. Mr. Shan is a big fan of these TV shows where they like do a sculpture or a painting or the fashion thing, and there's a contest to see who the best designer is. It looks like the result of one of those reality TV show fashion programs. It just looks overstyled. I don't know.
It's Embo. That they were right. I will share this, and Norman's probably going to shout at me, but yeah, that's it. Yeah, Psykit's got it as well. Yeah, thank you very much, there, chat.
Right. Well, that answers that question because I've not really been following. The one Star Wars series I never followed, much to my son's disappointment, is the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
It's excellent.
You really, really, really do need to watch that, especially when you eventually get around to watching Bad Batch.
Oh no, I'm watching Bad Batch. I quite like Bad Batch, but I haven't watched the Clone Wars.
So first of all, you diss the last episode of Loki, and now you're saying you haven't watched Clone Wars. Colin, you need to take some time off work and watch.
Yeah.
Colin, can you quit your job and just like watch all of these shows? That would be really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
Did
Well,
I
that's what
mention?
working from home is about, isn't it?
Did I mention that I'm in the middle of a crunch at the moment? You know, it's a little bit
You might
difficult.
have mentioned it once or twice.
A little teensy weensy bit.
Crunch is the best time for prevarication.
Yeah, well, on that particular moment, we will take a advert break, and then we'll come back with a discussion.
Is your
Yes, I am.
life like this? It could be like this.
Astrogator Tours. Put some excitement back in your life. Book an adventure in the Lave Business Directory. Now.
This is a public service announcement from the Fuel Rats. Please stop what you're doing and pay attention. If we can rescue you, we will, but you can help us help you by following these easy steps. 1. Fly 50 light seconds or so from the system's main star and drop out of Supercruise. 2. Note down the current system and the nearest stellar body. 3. If you're on emergency life support, log out immediately. 4. Go to fuelrats.org and click Get Help. 5. Stay calm, hold your breath, and let our seasoned professionals do what they do best. The Fuel Rats. We have fuel, you don't. Any questions?
I was overseeing the delivery of some slaves to the starport in Exios, and a cleaning robot had just washed the floor, but not left a warning sign. I had to run after a slave that was escaping, and I slipped and fractured my wrist. I was delayed for 10 whole minutes while the Medicomp repaired the damage. My time is billable. Can I get compensation?
Yes, you can.
I was on a regular trading run back to Sol, and it was my job to repaint the outside of the ship. I was given the wrong kind of EVA clamps. Nothing bad actually happened, but it did give me a fright. Can I get compensation?
Yes, you can.
I was checking some robots through customs when I distinctly heard an official call the robots clanks. I was deeply offended, even though I'm not a robot myself. That's their word. You're not allowed to use it. Can I claim for moral outrage?
Yes, you can. At Cowell and McGrath, we are now taking any kind of legal action. No case too small, no justification too frivolous. If you've been lightly inconvenienced, embarrassed, or in any way put out, then someone should be made to give you money. Don't be a stupid clank.
Excuse me?
Cowell and McGrath, taking on any case, playing the percentages.
And welcome back. Well, even though we haven't had any real notification of when Update 6 is coming or what it's going to entail, we were just thought we'd do some rampant speculation of what you hope to see in Update 6. So we're going to kick this off with Psykit because apparently she's got a massive list of things.
It's not a massive list. It's like it mostly focuses around optimization and stuff along those lines, which we can be pretty certain of that the Update 6 is going to focus around these weird intermittent lag spikes or FPS lag that we get, stuff like that. That I would like to see that addressed first. Other things that I would like to see, not just in Update 6, but looking further future towards things that they optimize or things that they bring in, or things that Frontier consider bringing in, a little bit of an overhaul on the Manticore weapons, just of the different. I want a sniper rifle to be able to fire a bit quicker. because I feel like someone can just step out of the way. I want to be able to put a modification on it, which means that the speed of the projectile is faster. That's like a tiny thing. I want them to have a look at the engineering grind, not just for ships, but like engineering grind for ships is substantial. We know that it's substantial, but it is a pipe dream in comparison to the absolute grind that is ship engineering, on foot engineering. It's, even if it was just anything that you picked up equaled 3, or in the same way as if you pick up something in your ship, it equals 3 engineering materials. So that in itself would help some of the grind. But I was shown today somebody who needs Captain MD who needed to upgrade something, upgrade 3 of his 3 suits, I think it is, and it's like he needs 360 microelectrodes to upgrade all of his suits to grade 5, like his 3 suits. And that, I don't know about the rest of you, but that in itself feels incredibly excessive.
Yeah, it is
So that,
quite a few.
yeah, that's my main bugbear. And I love engineering. I love engineering a ship. And I can barely bring myself to start modifying my suits because it just feels like so much of an undertaking that part of me is like, am I really going to bother with this? And then I see people like Yagashura doing these amazing things with like a fully engineered Maverick suit and a pistol, and he's insane. So I'm like, okay, let's have a look and see what I need for that. And it's still such a huge amount that I'm like, do I really need it? And I don't think you need to. I don't think people need to feel like that. That's my main one. That's what I'd love to see them have a look at, and have a look at the balancing of the engineering.
Yeah, we had the same problem when the Guardian stuff came out. The engineering grind for that was unbelievable. But thankfully, Frontier listened and made it more acceptable. But a lot of the people who had already done that grind were a little bit annoyed because obviously people were doing it for less. Shan?
Yeah, it's interesting just listening to what Sai said, because I do sort of agree with most of what she said, which may shock her. But yeah, the material engineering grind, I think definitely needs looking at. I've seen some outrageous figures of how long it'll take. And to be fair, a game mechanic that encourages you to cheese it by relogging and logging in again to get more maths is a clearly broken game mechanic in terms of that.
100% agree. I hate having to log off and log back on to be the most to optimize something. It doesn't feel like it needs to be immersive gameplay, and that's inclusive like Jameson's Cobra, all of that sort of stuff. But even back then, I try and do a lot of that.
Hang on a second. What parallel universe have we dropped into where Shan and Psykit are agreeing?
No, I'm not happy about it.
No, I mean, also what, and this isn't what I think will be in 6, but it is what I think they should do for the engineering changes, is your engineering exploits in Odyssey have no impact on ship-based engineering, and vice versa. The two don't link up. And to be fair, I haven't even tried to do engineering on my suits because I've been playing Elite Shopping Simulator and going around buying the G3 suits and keep going around until I find a better G3 with a mod. So I'll just go around and shop G3 because it's quicker to go and leap from system to system shopping than it is to do the engineering stuff. And what I think will be in 6, I think we will get more optimization. I'm not sure we'll get any gameplay changes. Will we get planetary um, terrain update, for I'm not sure we'll get that either,
No.
because that seems like a big job to sort
Mm.
that out. So I think the update 6 will realistically be simply more optimization, because on the engineering side, I think Frontier have it's not the decision, but it's a culture of repetitive busy work equals gameplay, and you can kind of see that doctrine all the way through Odyssey, through all the extra elite ranks, through engineering. It's busy work equals gameplay, and I think maybe some of the pushback from the community is saying, well, actually, it's not. But anyway, we'll see.
Yeah. Ben, what are you hoping for in update 6?
We've already said about the optimizations and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think, even though a lot of people want it, I don't think we're going to get the planets regened. I would like to see some more mission types. That'd be nice.
Mm-hmm.
What I would like to see, but again, I don't think we'll see it, is closer into. Somebody just died. Is closer integration. Is for Odyssey and Elite Classic
Mm-hmm.
to feel like one game
Yes.
rather than two.
Yeah.
And
That.
I don't know how you could do that.
Oh, oh God.
Colin.
Actually, there's a real simple way that they could do that. Is that it kind of goes back to when I used to GM, believe it or not, Star Wars games. When you GM Star Wars games, ran an adventure. They had this list of things that really you need to do for an adventure for your players, and that is, well, you had to have one part of your adventure had to be a bit of space combat, one a bit you had to have a little bit of at least one bit of shooting stormtroopers, etc., etc. And what I think they need to do is, for missions where you do not use the taxi or you cannot use the taxi, you used to have these alerts that people would say that you've got bounty hunters on your tail because basically you're running this transport mission for us, so you got bounty hunters on your tail, watch out for these guys in space. And that was just a nice little wrinkle that made it put you a little bit more on edge. That in itself it just would bring both of those halves together. I mean, where I think Odyssey works at its best is at these places where these missions where you use your ship, and that's where I think. Right.
I do have one thing that I would love to see, and I actually got really hopeful in Update 5 because I thought they'd done it. But I would love to be able to do anything I can do, or I would love to be able to basically have access to the mission boards from within my ship.
They've actually changed it so you can actually hand in your missions on your ship.
We
you seen
can hand in our missions, yeah. I think that's always been there. I think, but I would like, you go into your mission, and I want to see. Frankly, I just want a little icon saying this is an on-foot mission. You know how we've got this is a planet icon saying this is a Horizons mission, and you need to go on a planet. Give us a couple of footsteps. That's an on-foot mission. So the mission terminals show us the same stuff that we see on our ships. That's something I would desperately love to see. Because that way we don't need to go into the glorified Shockwave Flash menu that is the mission terminals. Unless you're wanting to buy a ship, unless you're wanting to buy a weapon, or maybe hand in Vista Genomics or do the Astro stuff. But if you're just doing normal mission running, let us do it all from our ship. Why not?
Oh no, I completely understand. Psykit, you next.
Before we talk too much about missions, adding extra missions into the game, can we make sure that the missions that are in the game are currently working? That'd be really, really lovely. I'd really love to be able to go to a crash POI and just be able to get what I need from it and complete that mission. That'd be lovely.
Yes, that is
And I'd love
highlighted.
it. I'd love it if the assassination people, the people that we need to assassinate, when they find out that we're after them and they bugger off, I'd love to be able to go to the planet that it says that they're at and then be there more than one time. That'd be great. Thanks. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah, those things are already on the issue tracker, aren't
they? They are. I'm being facetious, Colin.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is, this is one thing about the issue tracker that really annoys me is the fact they don't mark these things as being looked at or as in fixed and it will be in the next release, because it would be nice to get some feedback saying, all right, we know that this one they've got something in plan for it for the next release, and or especially stuff with the missions.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice if you could just look up on the issue tracker saying, all right, they've marked that one off as complete. We can look forward to it in the next release.
Or even just like, okay, we're working on it and it's at this priority.
Yeah. Yeah, something
like a priority marking, something like that. This is like the top of our priority, optimization and all of that. Fixing the missions, next bit of priority. Giving you extra things, giving you X, Y, and Z. That's right at the bottom, but we are aware that you'd like it, and it's been recognized, that kind of thing.
Oh, okay. Shan.
I think Psy is slowly turning to the Sith in this conversation.
I've always been on the dark side, Shan. Don't you dare. Don't you dare.
Because what she's saying, I do concur with. I do. What I would like to see in 6 is, I'm talking about general updates, quality of life updates, is I think reviewing the crime and punishment system for on foot stuff is a big work that needs looking at, and particularly the death mechanic as well, because it's incredibly annoying to just end up in a detention center somewhere and then not in your ship, and then you call a taxi and blah, blah, blah. It's just a needless break, I think, from the flow of gameplay. If they can't give us ship interiors, then why bother with detention cells? But anyway, in terms of what I do think they will give us, is I think we'll get another UI update.
Yeah.
I think they'll continue to improve the UI to make it even less confusing than it is now. Probably to do with the galaxy map, if I was going to hedge my bets.
Actually, I've got really used to the new galaxy map, to be honest. I must admit that the UI changes were badly needed, and once everything got sorted in update 5, I haven't actually gone back to Horizons to do anything. So that's been a great improvement. Ben, you're next.
One other thing I was just thinking, actually, when I was looting stuff, you know how when you're playing an MMO, you can see you've got like your epic items and you've got different colors basically for it, and gray items are always vendor trash. I would love to have the items that we're looting have some way of saying, okay, this is used in recipes, the barman is interested in these things, and nobody cares about this.
And apply that to ship engineering as well.
Absolutely.
Everything, yes.
Rather than having to use a third-party app in order to do it.
Yeah, that would be incredibly helpful, because you've been playing SWTOR, haven't you? Where everything grey, just get rid of.
It's SWTOR. Wow, it's pretty much every MMO since
Guild
2000.
Guild Wars 2 has a sell trash button that just sells everything to trash in your inventory. You just go sell trash and just get rid of it.
Yeah, from the chat room, both Little Bigian and Nopol Threos have made this interesting suggestion that when you power up a settlement, switching off the alarms but enabling the turrets and the anti-ship turrets should be able to get rid of the bad guys. Now, I'm sure Vintion said something he was able to do that last time. I don't know whether they're taking that out or put it back in.
I don't think it's in. I think he said that he wanted to be able to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, and something like that also needs to be in conflict zones too, because just a single zerg around capture the area, it makes conflict zones a bit dull. You just go around a big zerg. You need secondary objectives like this to make conflict zones interesting.
Yeah, and especially interesting if you've got players coming in ships, and you definitely need some way to defend yourself against ships and SRVs, because it's the range that the ships and the SRVs have got that just unbalance the whole thing. Now, Psykit, you have more suggestions.
I have one. I have one which should be relatively easy. Oh my god! I'm not going to say it should be relatively easy because I don't know how coding works. I'm but a weak and feeble woman who would not know coding. Anyway, I would like an option, more talking about that gameplay loop. She says in inverted commas, when you die. I would like an option on seeing that rebuy screen to pay extra to get your ship transferred to the station rather than paying for the Apex. Because that Apex, why have you given me other doors to another way if I can't fly my ship? And I can't even, there's not even a terminal or an Inter Astra for me to order my ship over to the detention center. So what is the point of those doors unless I've got another one of my lads coming and picking me up?
I think it's a union thing. I think the Apex
think so?
union would get upset if you could bypass them. So it's a union thing.
Love that. Same problem with the fleet carriers. It's all down to the unions. Oh dear. I mean, one thing that update 6. I don't expect them to have the this in, but they have been dropping a lot of hints that they're looking at power play. And just the thought of something happening to power play would probably be rubber nuke on the forums just melt.
Do we think though it's the time to look at power play, or do we think that there are bigger issues afoot than power play? In other words, do we think fixing power play would resolve the drop in fan numbers and stuff like that?
It wouldn't resolve. It would allow people to turn around and say, no, they have actually fixed power play after all this time, which is always one of the things that detractors bring up and say, oh, look at power play, they haven't fixed that in years. But yeah, I think it's time, to be honest, after they've got a lot of the stuff out of the way. Now, there is one thing that we have been missing out on, and it's quite a big one. On-foot Thargoids. Do you think they're coming soon?
I don't want them to come
soon.
I don't want them to come soon.
Let's just say at the end of the story arc. After the end of this, the story arc of the Azimuth story arc.
Depends how long the Azimuth saga goes on for. I would say probably 2-3 months, maybe 6 months after the console release. Then it would start gearing up towards maybe on-foot Guardian weapons or just like little hints of things like that. I think we might lose Salvation for a little bit of time as Salvation begins to work on other technology.
For me, the biggest obstacle, I personally, to on-foot Thargoids is with the current game mechanics and combat mechanics of on foot, they'll just become bullet sponges with 8 legs or 10 legs. There won't be any variation. There won't be anything different to fighting a Thargoid other than you need to shoot it more times. So I want to see more varied, more nuanced, more complex combat mechanics so that when we do meet on-foot Thargoids, it justifies the build-up and the expectations.
Oh yeah, I mean I completely agree with you, Shan. When you actually go up against a Thargoid ship, we've got to find out, I guess, how to actually kill them, because it won't be the same as killing humans. They'll have put something in similar than they have with the ship. So I'm hoping that there are.
God, you mean a whole new rep grind?
I think there's going to be a new Guardian, grind for.
No.
Do you not think so? Do you not think there's going to be
No.
Guardian weaponry?
What I mean is that you've got to employ different strategies to take it down Thargoids. You can't just use the same strategy against a human ship against a Thargoid ship. You've got to know that the Thargoids have got certain weaknesses at certain points.
Yeah, mycoid virus.
Yeah.
All we have to do is just go and plant in some more mycoid viruses. Job done. Job's a good and no more thugs.
But what happens if they've actually got immunity to that now?
Yeah,
They've just got a Delta strain.
Yeah, they've got the double jabs.
Pfizer invented the mycoid vaccine and gave it to them in the last game.
Well, that's fine because we'll just generate the Delta version of the mycoid virus and it'll be perfectly fine.
But in all seriousness, if you think about how alien combat is portrayed in films and movies, like for example, the actual xenomorphs in Aliens, they were a real threat in the first Alien film, just one of them. But by the time Alien 3 came along, they were just trash mobs, and you had to think of something else. And I don't want Thargoids here to be resorted to trash mobs. It almost needs to feel a boss encounter. It needs to be, oh my god, here's a Thargoid, run, get my mates, we'll come back and get it, rather than just let's shoot it in the thorax 600 times.
Completely agree. That's exactly. They need to be scary. They need to be down near invincible unless you know exactly what you're doing, and you've got to have friends with you. That I completely agree with that.
And they need to be better than the white spikes in the Tomorrow War.
I haven't seen the Tomorrow War yet.
Okay, so you're not thinking they're going to be like, like the bugs from actually, like some of the bugs from Starship Trooper at the beginning, at least.
They were bullet sponges. They just
they turned into it, but they also annihilated the first few waves.
But that's because it took 10,000 bullets to injure one. I mean, what were they firing? And that's what I don't want Thargoids to be. I don't want them to be like the bullet sponges in Starship Troopers. Where you think, what on earth am I doing having to shoot this thing 6,000 times to kill it? I mean, the actual NPCs are bad enough for bullet sponges in game, and I don't know. It needs to be complex. You need the ability to set up, I don't know, turrets or kill zones or whatever to be able to trap them and shoot them, and they need to want them in the game until we've got that level of nuanced combat.
Okay, Ben.
I'm just counterpointing to that, I guess I'd say. So in Star Citizen, there's also obviously on-foot combat. And even with the heaviest armor, 2 shots to the head and you're dead. And that obviously goes in any other direction as well. 2 shots to... A shot with a sniper rifle can one-shot somebody, even if they've got a helmet on. So, so that's great in some respects, in that, the enemies aren't bullet sponges. You can go and, on target, pew, tango down, rinse and repeat, and things like that. On the other hand, you can be walking around the corner and all of a sudden you're dead and you didn't even see where he's coming from. And I feel like Elite Dangerous is too far in one direction. Star Citizen's too far in the other. But do you have any preferences? Do you think that the more realistic side of Star Citizen is better than what we've got in Elite Dangerous, or vice versa, or is there a happy medium there, Sham?
Yes, Sham, your turn.
I've never played Star Citizen, so I wouldn't know. The only thing I can speak about is my personal experience with other games, and you
could ask a mini Shan. If you shoot a combatant in the head, are they going to be dead or not?
I've got several pet hates. for mob encounters.
I thought you were about to talk about shooting your pets in the head, and I was very worried.
Anyway,
Yes.
Anyway, my first pet hate is DPS races. So basically, you have to kill it before it kills you, and that's the whole extent of combat. I think it's. I hesitate to use the word lazy, but I'll use the word old-fashioned. The other one I don't like is rage timers, i.e., if you take too long to do something, or a mob hits at 75, 50, 25%, it gets in a rage timer and puts this massive attack which can one-shot you if it's in the way. I'm not a big fan of that. What I do like is, and yes, you should have vulnerability. So the Star Citizen example you used where a headshot is almost lethal and where a leg shot may not be. I can kind of get along with that, although surely if your suit is holed, it's almost like it's a big problem regardless of where the hole is, I guess. In terms of what I would want Thargoid, the other thing I want to pick up on is something that Psykit said about fighting Thargoid ships is once you get above a certain level, i.e. you want to find the Hydra and whatnot, there's an awful amount of material grind to make premium ammo to be able to damage them, within the sufficient time. What I don't want to see is a grind to get premium ammo just to kill Thargoids on foot. There needs to be a more nuanced way of doing it other than just ramping up the DPS.
Like it.
I need a big glowy red mark that you have to shoot, right?
A quick time event. Yeah, let's put a quick time event.
No, not quick time event. But for example, there are certain. I swear I've played a game before where there were certain like lights or something somewhere where it's a recognizable. What game is it? Might be Destiny. There's if you shoot the mobs in the weak spots where the lights are coming from, you can gain the you can kill them quicker. I think
we sort of have that with the Thargoid interceptors, don't we?
Yeah, true.
Because when you damage a heart and your heart's able to damage, the model of the ship has almost like it's on fire thing, doesn't it? And that's when you know where the heart is to hit it with your Gauss cannons or whatever. So there is that already.
Borderlands does this very nicely, where any kind of mob, whether it's a boss or just a normal trash mob, you hit them in the right place, and they'll take critical damage rather than standard damage.
I think I'd prefer to have visual clues rather than little crosshairs on the bit. I mean, someone said it in chat as well at the same time. I think it's Fallout. I've forgotten the name of the mechanic in Fallout, where there's almost like a bullet time, and you can choose. Yeah, I didn't like that account. I like subtle visual clues or an animation clue. And again, I'll get people drinking, but in Guild Wars, what you could do is if you noticed a mob or a player, they would have a certain animation which meant they were about to cast a heal spell or one of the big DPS spells. And if you recognize the animation, you could interrupt it and stop it before it actually happened. But your only clue of doing that was situational awareness. And that's the sort of subtlety I enjoy in a game.
Yeah,
So
I like that. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just thinking about current mechanics that we have in Elite that kind of in Odyssey even that sort of exemplify what you're talking about. So for example, the throwing of a grenade, you can interrupt that by shooting someone and they drop the grenade on themselves. And you see them gear up to throw a grenade. So I don't see how it would be that difficult to implement something not dissimilar a couple years down the line when we get Tharg lads,
Can we also see when they're about to heal and things like that too?
I don't know that we can. I think that, like us, is on a timer.
Okay, because it'd be good if all moves like this were telegraphed.
If it was telegraphed for an NPC for adding, doing like increasing their shield back up, it should be telegraphed for us as well for PvP.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
And I don't know how they would do that.
I mean, think about ship combat when you want to interrupt someone doing a shield cell. There's a slight animation, isn't there, before the shield cell becomes active, and you can hit with the rag. So that sort of thing just makes combat more interesting. And
the other thing that I was going to say is that from my experience, shooting someone in the head in Elite Odyssey does more damage than shooting them in the chest with just like your normal guns.
There's an engineering mod, isn't there?
Is there?
I believe there's an engineering mod that increases headshot damage. Or am I thinking of another game?
I thought.
No,
I
you're
thought
thinking
you
of
could...
another game because
I thought
I'm
you
doing
could
it
just-
unengineered.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you can just do it. It might increase it further, with that, but I'm relatively sure you can do it without as well.
I think this might be verging onto the smut side, but Bitstorm's talking about wrestling with Thargoids now.
Yes, I noticed that. I just like to actually say to Space Raccoon, update number 6, no more grind, only fun gameplay, and Xeno Space Bunnies.
Question quick for Shan, actually. So you know how we've got the Thargoid Scouts, obviously, and then we've got the proper Thargoids. Would you be okay if we had, like, the Thargoids, the mini Thargoids running around, like little face crabs running around, and we can just daka them with whatever, and they're just like kill them all. Sure. And then you've got your proper Thargoids.
Yeah, I haven't got a problem with that because they're just your trash mobs. By the way, Uma Laszlo does a headshot damage engineering mod according to Anara. So yes, there is a headshot damage.
And
mod.
is that for any weapon? Isn't?
I would increase it then.
Yeah, because I have.
It definitely works.
Definitely. Armament. Yeah, so for kinetic weapons, it's for. But yeah, I mean that's entirely reasonable. You know, you wouldn't expect the head crab to have the same durability as a xenomorph, would you?
No.
You know, so I haven't got a problem. I mean, I don't know, run them over with an SRV or stomp on them with your foot. Do what you like with them, you know. But I think proper Thargoids. I want them to be more than bullet sponges with rage timers.
And should there be the Thargoid Queen? And should we have power armor?
No, I don't.
Yes
I don't want.
and no.
No,
I don't want to see a Thargoid Queen. I don't want to see a Thargoid Queen.
You don't want to see like a really big boss, though.
No,
like,
no.
In the same way that we've
cheapens
got like Cyclopses up to, I want to say Medusas or Hydras, one of the two. But we've got that. Do we not want that as far as the other things?
There's a fundamental trouble with that. Certainly in my thinking, and it hasn't satisfactorily been solved in any game. To be fair, is that you have your raid bosses. You know, these are your big bosses that you go in, and supposedly they are like the queen. So you go in, you kill the queen, and you come in an hour later, and they're back. You know, I think there should be a series of events. For example, if you leave the Thargoids alone for a day, they breed another queen. However, if you keep culling Thargoids and to stop them, they don't spawn. It needs to be that kind of consequential stuff, not just on a spawn timer.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that I would hope to see is basically you get told that this particular settlement is targeted for Thargoids, and by Thargoids, and in comes scout after scout after scout to drop off Thargoid trash mobs, if you like, with the occasional big boss.
If you really wanted to get excited, Colin, you could have Thargoid CGs where the Thargoids ship in supplies. And if once they reach enough supplies, something bad happens.
Yeah, I mean, they did have something. I mean, when the Thargoid attacks were happening with the amount of scouts and inner system and things like that, it's such a shame that they're not doing that anymore, because it gave people an awful lot to do. And it did get a bit repetitive towards the end.
But do you think that Elite Dangerous's game engine can actually cope with telegraphing everything?
Now, that's an interesting point. Because at the moment, I am barely getting by with the FPS.
Oh, when I was at that planetary base just there, yeah, I was on all of a massive 23 FPS. Although,
That's exactly the same as my 1050.
yeah, I'm now on 44. I mean, one thing I've never liked. Okay, yeah, I've just gone into the concourse and I'm on 27 FPS.
On a 1080, on a 3080 Ti with a
Yeah,
NVIDIA
I mean
5800.
I don't know why you think that's my CPU, but anyway.
Well, you showed a deal. You showed a deal you got from Scan, didn't you?
Yes, but I didn't. I've not got that CPU inside.
Oh,
my
right.
thing. I've got an NVIDIA thing.
But
I've
anyway,
got,
the 3080,
Intel.
so a £1,500 graphics card retail, or the size of a small house in Newcastle graphics card, and you're getting 27 FPS.
It's
Sorry
not
for
right,
being
is it?
sorry for being skeptical, Frontier, but there's not a chance you'll get this running on consoles.
That being said, I get about the same on my 1660 Super.
Yeah, Colin's got 1660 or something, don't you, Colin?
No, I've got a 1050 Ti.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, it ain't right, is it?
No, I mean that is the one thing that is the highlight of all of what we need in Update 6 is basically a vast improvement in frame rate and not just necessarily frame rate, but frame rate smoothness. Because I've been playing quite decently lately, but then all of a sudden it'll just lock up. And it'll just lock up and freeze for about 2-3 seconds, and then it'll go back. And it's just that 2-3 second freeze it's enough to just really turn you off from what you're doing. And yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a programmer by any extent or whatever, but people say, oh, it's optimization and they can optimize it. Do we really think it is optimization? Because, you know, for me, back in my systems programming days, there's only a certain amount of performance you can gain by tweaking software. And it sometimes comes down to the fundamental operating system or the hardware just isn't up to it. And I'm just wondering, how is this as good as it's actually going to get? Because surely if there are quick wins they could get through optimizing, whether it's culling or whatnot, they'd have done it by now. So I'm just wondering, is it a fundamental engine problem that they're hitting the limits of, and it ain't ever going to hit this because it's a fundamental engine issue?
Well,
we can only just sit and wait to find out, can't we?
Yeah, because we don't have access to the source code. I do know that they have gone and improved every aspect of the game so far, so that 90% of it is playable. I'm only getting those kind of freezing issues when I go into settlements now. I used to get that when I went onto the concourse, or when I went down onto a planet with a POI. Ironically, I never got it doing the exploration stuff.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Again, my thing is that you've got to it's got to calculate the position of every visible star in the sky, plus all the terrain detail and everything else like that. It's got to do that. Yet, when you go into an enclosed room with just a few plants and Sleepy Pete in it, it grinds to a halt. And I don't get how that can be so different, if you see what I mean, because there's more to render when you look at the planet and the sky and all the stuff like that than in a single room, and I don't quite get.
But when it's rendering like the whole station and the interior of the concourse and then the whole station, and from my understanding, it was also rendering the whole of the outside of the station for you as well. When you think about all of those polygons rather than just a randomly generated planet, arguably you could say that it's more intensive for a settlement with all of those different polygons, all of those different moving features. I landed on a settlement today, and it took a solid 5 minutes before the AI started to do their patrols and their walks. Everyone was just stood there. It was a solid 5 minutes. We nearly got the whole mission done before they started moving around. So there were a lot of component and moving parts. Not to make excuses for it, but it might go some way for reasoning why it's so different, or why it causes so much of a strain when you first land.
Yeah. Right. Well, so I think, top of the list is that we hope that they've improved the performance. I mean, Stuart GT has said that engines, graphic pipelines, etc., can always be improved and upgraded. The thing is, given enough time, and that's the issue that we've got, really, because they've got to work out what needs to be rendered and what doesn't, and that can be quite an issue when you've got an awful lot of glass.
Yeah, but there's also a point, isn't there? Yeah, there's also a limit to what those engines, pipelines, etc., can then be improved. And I guess my query is, I guess we'll never know either, but my query is how close are we at that limit? Because my gut feel says we're pretty close to that limit, because otherwise they would have done it. But we'll see what it's in update 6, I suppose. Maybe David Braben will come out of his office and invoke his magic coding skills and fix it.
I think at this point, David Braben's coding skills won't be of much help, to be honest. He'll have the right mindset, but the actual coding skills today are very, very different from the coding skills that he cut his teeth on.
That's blasphemy, Colin.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure if it is or isn't actually, Colin, because I know in a recent interview, Chris Roberts is still saying he keeps his hands dirty. So yes, he's doing a lot of management stuff, but he is working on a couple of the fundamental features in Star Citizen.
Yeah, maybe so, but there was an interview that actually, I think it was our interview with him. We asked whether or not he still kept his hand in coding, and he said no. In fact, actually, he'd just been notified that his last piece of code had been taken out of the Cobra engine.
Maybe he is like the big boss. So maybe the developers and programmers are like trash mobs, and the community's beating the trash mobs, and the trash mobs can't actually do it anymore. So now it's time to bring on the final boss to sort it out.
Right. Well, we're going to wrap this up now, and hopefully we'll have more news on Update 6 soon, TM. So we're going to pop over to the Community Corner. First up, we have The High Wake has come up with this little animation called Could We Recharge It? Ben, you're the one that suggested this one.
I am the one that suggested this one, and we are allowed to play it if we want to.
Go ahead, if we can.
Sorry, I haven't got that to play out.
Oh. Norman has it. I think Norman gave you a place to find it, but a bit late now.
Never mind.
It's okay. So basically, it's a lovely little video. Hooks into the feeling that a lot of us maybe are feeling about Elite Dangerous, but ends on a nice positive note. I would say watch it, but we can't because somebody's not done their homework. Go and write 10,000 lines or something like that.
We'll fix it in post.
That's always good. We've got some happy Elite Dangerous Spaces big/planet gen news. Osric had a planet that he wanted to get first footfall on, so he made sure he headed straight out there when Odyssey launched. I know the feeling. That's exactly what I did. But he could not disembark from the ship of the SRV because the minimum temperature was 860 degrees Kelvin, and the suits can only handle 800 degrees Kelvin. That's a new interesting fact. Well, the other day he was explaining to someone a few things about the first discoveries and using this system as example. He clicked on the planet and said it had a temperature range between 600 and 900 Kelvin, and suspected that someone must have changed it, unless of course it has something to do with orbits and temperature fluctuations. But I don't see how that was possible to the extreme, as it's a close star, as this planet is in close orbit around the B-class star. Well, today, or rather 19th of July, he looked at the system again, and the temperature was now from 704 to 175 Kelvin, and noticed that the orbit was not quite centered on the star, which means that actually it must have reached it at the point when it was too close to the star, and as it is its furthest point, I guess that means he can land.
Because science, and I love that fact. I love the fact that the planetary orbits are determining the range of temperatures on the planet, and the perihelion and the aphelion and things like that are all. Everything's being taken into account as to determine the temperature, and I think that's amazing and great. I love it.
So what happens if he stays there and it
He would
moves out of the
presumably
range?
eventually cook.
I'd want to see that. I want to see Osric cook on the surface of a planet.
I think many people would like to see Osric cook, to be frank.
So basically, what you want to do is you want him to get out of his SRV when the temperature is okay. Log out, wait until the planets come round until it's hot enough, log back in and watch him melt. Is that right?
For science.
For science. I'll tell you one thing that I have noticed for science as well is that the planets that I've found that have the most life on, the most biological life, always seem to have water atmospheres. Normally 7 or 8 biological types, which is actually maybe as much as 12 or 13 actual plants and other things, always seem to be a lot more popular, or lot more populous on these systems. And I must admit, I'm really enjoying it.
That makes sense, though, doesn't it?
It makes complete and utter sense, because you go to Argon planets, there's maybe some bacteria and maybe 1, maybe 2 plants, but you go to a water atmosphere planet, and that's a great one to look out for if you want to scan lots of biologicals. So there you go. That's an extra hint which we can put in at a later point. Moving on, Elite Week has now rebranded itself to cover not only Elite Dangerous content, but also Star Citizen and No Man's Sky, as well as sci-fi and real space news. To coincide with this, they've rebranded themselves the name of their in-game faction, which is the Black Sky Legion. So we've got a link here to Black Sky Legion on YouTube for those that are interested. Sagittarius Eye issue 38 has been released. It's also come out on its podcast. This unfortunately will be the last one for the time being. Unfortunately, it seems that a couple of the editors had emergencies that made them stand away, but one of the silver linings from this is we've managed to nick the final editor who was left. So they'll be helping out Lave Radio for the near future. So yet again, Sagittarius Eye 38 has been released, so always go and give that one a look up. Shan.
I was about to speculate on the fate of Sovereign. I wonder if one of the reasons why Sovereign has taken a step back from both Sag-Eye and Lave Radio is he and Mrs. Sovereign are actually having children, and I'm one because he was so vehemently against it, and such would be the shame of coming on a show and saying actually we're expecting. I think he's secretly spawning Sovereigns without telling us.
I guess if he comes back in 9 months, we'll know.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, trust you wouldn't come back in 9 months, would you? No, you'd be too busy.
Well, the Sue spawns would take all his time.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But that'd be Mrs. Sue's spawn, wouldn't it? Wouldn't Sue really want to escape the Sue spawn?
Yeah, we'll have to. This will turn into the bathroom update speculation, won't it? Is Sue and Mrs. Sue with child? Still, we'll move on from there. Nice diversion. We'll just like to say hi to everybody on the Apollo 15 expedition. They started off a couple of weeks ago now, and they're well into their progress. They hope to be arriving at oh great, what is nicknamed as David and Goliath, which is QEAJO-CZ-N C20-15 by the 1st of August 2021, and we will have included a link in the show notes, and they've also got their own Discord and, as usual, thread on the forums. For those of you who are interested, 68 commanders have already self-destructed. So, not a bad body count, I suppose.
Were they all at once, or did they do them in sequence?
I think just the occasional.
Not another Court of the Thargoid that we're talking about then.
No.
Okay. But damn it, we make our own law here.
Yeah. Right. Well, on to the newbie section. Now, at the moment, we still don't have a name for this, do we? So it's at the moment it's Newbs Nuggets or Learners for Lave or something like that. So, Ben, would you like to read out this week's Noob Nugget?
I can if you give me more than 2 seconds notice. I could even go off and demonstrate this, in fact. When you're docked at a Horizons base, go and have a look at your crotch panel and select the SRV, and you can pop out. So many people don't realize they can just take their SRV and drive around normal Horizons style bases as opposed to Odyssey style bases. Even before we could walk around them. The only thing that it's improved the over iterations, because it used to be you had to try and find whatever landing pad you were at. But I believe now you can actually just get your SRV to any docking bay and say, "Can I get him back on my ship, please?"
Oh, is there any docking bay? Because I thought you had to actually request docking again, and then it told you which landing bay to go to.
Oh, it might be that one. It might be that one. Okay, it is any.
It's any from the Lave the LaveCon Buckyball Challenge. Part of it was drive in and request docking, and then you could literally go into the garage that was the first one on the right, and wherever you were parked, it would put you in your ship.
Oh, that's nice. That's a nice one.
It's great. It's really good.
Yeah, actually, I've noticed something is that when you actually drive around one of the big cities and you get out in Odyssey and walk around, you will hear announcements telling people about various things about the city, including that it's illegal to race around the city in SRVs. So,
Lisa suggesting we call it Mostly Clueless.
Mostly Clueless.
That was a suggestion from last week, I think, as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, we haven't. Go on, Sean.
I was to say, I find it a bit ironic and quite amusing that the previous discussion was you talking about how to make the newbie nugget thing actually work, as if you didn't actually know how to work it. So in other words, we're using newbie nuggets because you didn't know how to do it.
Well, I've done it in the past. It's just that they've changed how they do it.
I
And I
also
think the old
think,
way still works.
yeah, and the thing that's wonderful about, one of the things that I personally find really wonderful about Elite is that I find that I am constantly learning something new. Even like Horizons based stuff, I'm still learning new stuff about it, and I've got thousands of hours in this game.
Right.
This is what I just find ironic. That's all. Funny. Anyway.
I think we should move on to any other business now. Oh boy, last week.
I have business.
Yeah, you have business, don't you? Oh Lord. Right. I'll just point
need a
out
warning.
that. Yes, I'll just point out that if you, although this station is rated 18, there might be people who might be listening in the background who might not be of appropriate age. Make sure that you listen to this where no one can overhear you. Just like, don't let anybody watch over your shoulder on whatever you're streaming, whatever.
This is the.
In
this
other
is
words,
the
if there's
pod-
delicacy is planning, they might need to bugger off.
Yes. Do not play this in the car.
It's honestly, I've read them and it's not that bad. It's all open to interpretation.
So this is the podcast equivalent of clearing your browser history, is it?
Absolutely. So we had a couple of people submit some smut for me. Firstly, we had a couple of things from LCU No Fall Like one who titled as well. The first paragraph is called "That's the Way the Cookie Crumbles."
Hang on, the first paragraph.
Yes, they're not full stories. It's all right. They're just paragraphs.
Oh, that's okay then.
This isn't a Ben and Shan story as well, so you get a break with this one.
Oh, good.
As Phelan watched the figure in the lab coat head off across the landing bay, he allowed himself to breathe a sigh of relief. It was a big shipment to get under the nose of the authorities, but Cannon were quite accommodating. He and his NMLA comrades started hurriedly unpacking the cargo canisters, stripping the contents of their protective metal alloy coverings, and making a pile in the corner of the bay. Soon, an acrid, sweet ammonia-laden smoke started to fill the space, and they ran for the ships. A flock of foil wrappers marked Gnosis biscuits, following in their wake. That's one. And we have another. We have another.
This Smutanori.
Apparently so. We have another from No Fall Like one called Waste Not Want Not. Ben's heart was racing. His radio was out and the pirates were hot on his tail. He couldn't call for help and he couldn't surrender. There was only one thing for it. FA off and fly like drunk. All for bio-waste. He'd been saving his bio-waste for a year, and as soon as he had enough to fill a cargo canister, the pirates had started sniffing around like flies on the proverbial, and now he was racing for his life. In the distance, he saw the orange dot getting bigger. Radio Sidewinder. He swerved at the last minute, and laser fire from a pirate swept over the orange hull. All we hear is radio boom boom. Help would be on its way soon. And then my favourite. I am biased. It's from Katie. The wonderful Katiana has provided me with some smut at very last notice. In space, no one can hear you scream. In the orange Sidewinder, the sounds are muffled somewhat. David Braben had dropped another note on the forum, so Shan was feeling particularly frisky. He sidled up to Ben and firmly gripped his hoot ass. I want to make you feel elite, Shan whispered. And not the new Elite Plus Plus, the original Elite, so we don't spoil the law. And that's it.
So Truth,
Thank you there, Katie.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be.
Exactly, I told you it wasn't too bad. It's fine.
I mean, that's about as slutty as Ben gets on the show. I think if we need more, needs to be more.
Yeah,
We need to
Katiana
make
is
this a
definitely the
section.
winner, I think. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I think.
So you
Bitcom, if you're working Sexy's time, write it and submit it. And
Yes,
Psykit
yes.
will read it.
I will read it. I will read things on the internet. I'm not
So-
afraid of doing it.
So basically, we got Psykit all excited and didn't finish her off.
Easy, Shan. Easy. I know Mrs. Shan's away, but it's your wedding anniversary.
What?
And then, well, come on, that comes from
None of
someone who
our
doesn't know what a
possessions
rampant
are
rabbit is. Come on. Anyway, I think we're going to have to call that for tonight. Has anybody else got any other business that they just want to quickly bring up? Apart from the fact is, oh God, is it so hot around here?
I would like to do a reiteration of something that Dev said on the forums, which is we are blessed to have Frontier developers on our Discord and possibly in other community Discords that you're on as well. Don't be a dick and PM and poke devs on Discord. They're on there they're on there to be nice and to interact with the community, not for you to whine and bitch and moan to.
Yeah, and mostly they're there on their own time as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen anybody doing that on our Discord, but I have seen it being done. And so just a polite notice to anyone on our Discord and any Discord, don't be that guy.
So I guess the question of the week is: do you have any more smut for Ben and Shan? I'm quite.
And Colin,
Let me read your smut.
Colin,
No. Listen.
Colin is feeling left
Listen,
out, so
you
you get
lot
extra
have been.
points for Colin's smut.
No. You lot have been having a go at me over the Psycho Bunny the Xeno Bunny for absolutely ages. This is my revenge. It only counts if it's Ben and Shan.
Okay,
Yeah, but
so
Colin,
we want Xeno Bunny and butt.
Yeah, I was going to say,
butt
Colin,
smut as well.
Colin, Ben and I don't have a butt fetish, so you know.
A
Would that be a
typo that will
motor
be the typo that will be the end.
Of your butt.
The end of my yeah. Right. I think it's time to
okay. I was going to
round
say,
out.
I butt, you butt, he sure it butts.
Mm-hmm.
Motor butt.
No.
Butt butt.
Yeah, but I don't have that wonderful voice to bring it to.
To finish it off.
Oh,
Exactly.
I think you should try. I think you should try. I think you should try, Colin. I think you should put on your.
Next week, Keelback Mountain. Thanks, Paul Archer. Right. Anyway, I am going to close off this episode as of now. So straight on with the shout-outs. First up, our sister station, Hutton Orbital Radio. It broadcasts on a Thursday. At 8:30. You can tune at twitch.tv/Hutton Orbital Truckers, or just the audio can be found at radio.forthemug.com. For the discerning commander who likes a bit of CQC action, check out the CQC Discord at discord.me/Elite Dangerous CQC. It must be pointed out the most popular version of this is CQC on Horizons, as Horizons and Odyssey are split. So you've got a better chance of doing CQC on Horizons to get a match. We're also giving shout outs to the following Elite Dangerous podcasts, which have appeared over the last year. So we've got Al Gorab AM, the Black Sky Legion, which we mentioned earlier, Canon Podcast for the Spanish speakers. We have the Elite Cast. There's the Fatherhood Podcast, Flight Assist, Loose Screws, Squeaking Fuel, and System Chat should be out with a new episode soon. For those that want a literary discussion about sci-fi and fantasy, please subscribe to the Data Slate podcast created by Station Commander Alan Stroud. Following this, we have the latest Galnet News Digest, as provided by Commander Witherspoon with Commander Beetlejude, and a large amount of thanks goes to everybody who's chipped in on the Twitch chat. And have you had any in-game commanders buzz you, Ben?
Yeah, Miggles was flying with me a wee while earlier, and then I went off and kind of got a arrest warrant, and I think he died, I ran away, and then he left.
Apparently, someone on the chat room said Shan Solo. He definitely shot first. And special thanks, of course, goes to Commander Tokuso, who created the new introduction music for the show. I can't really call it new anymore because we've had it for how many episodes? Must be at least 20. Must be at least 20 by now.
It can't be half a year, surely. We've had it for a few. It's only since Q1 this year.
Still 3 months.
Yeah.
Anyway, that is it for another episode of Lave Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, then... Oh, hang on. Have you got something to quickly say then, Ben?
I've got a correction. Sorry, I didn't actually mean to broadcast that, but I have a correction from Miggles. Everyone he killed seemed to turn into a Force ghost, so he couldn't scan their corpses. So that kind of sucks. But apparently he glitched out, and the game crashed. He didn't actually die on me. I just noticed that he wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, I must admit, that is quite weird. It's one thing I've noticed, that if you don't scan someone that you've killed within about 2 minutes, the body mysteriously evaporates. Anyway, that is it for another episode of Lave Radio. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, you can email info@laveradio.com, hit us up at facebook.com/laveradio, tweet us at Lave Radio, or you can join our Discord server by going to discord.io/laveradio. We also have a TeamSpeak server where commanders come out to hang out and chat, and you can find that at teamspeak.laveradio.com. Do get in touch if you have any questions or if there's anything you'd like us to discuss in a future episode. Lave Radio is recorded live on a Tuesday evening at 8:30 GMT and streamed out at laveradio.com/live. So thanks to Shan, thanks to Ben, and thanks to Psykit. And special thanks goes to our tech specialist for the day, which is the Chris Mark IV. So until next time, commanders, fly safe. And if you can't do that, fly dangerous.
Is your life like this?
Sounds like someone having an orange inserted into them. Need a safe word.
Space can be lonely.
I'm gonna see the galaxy.
Ah, damn it. No worries, guys. Hold the fort for 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
The Azimuth Saga. Prologue. The Adamastor and the Barnacles.
Since the end of October last year, a number of historic sites and several old vehicles have been discovered. They've cast a light on some of the earliest contacts between humanity and the other two sentient civilizations that we know about, the Thargoids and the Guardians, and also on early attempts to harness the power of the technology of these ancient and mysterious races. The story involves two competing pharmaceutical companies, Azimuth Biochemicals and Pharmasapien, and what they uncovered nearly 200 years ago, information that, to the best of our current knowledge, was lost with those who discovered it. But it seems that we might have much more to discover.
In the second half of 3306, humanity was growing complacent. The Thargoid invasion of human-occupied space that reached its peak in mid-3305, with the Thargoids only one step away from Sol, humanity's historical home system, had evaporated. No one understands why we were spared, but, other than some minor skirmishes, mainly in the Witchhead Nebula, the Thargoids were no longer a serious threat. The joint superpower task force set up to counter the Thargoid threat, Aegis Research, Defence and Core, was largely defunded. Thargoids were last year's news. At the very end of October 3306, an historical curiosity turned up in the Chukchan system, in the form of an ancient megaship, the Adamastor. The Alliance Salvage Guild undertook a preliminary survey.
The Adamastor has been travelling at sublight speed through interstellar space for nearly 200 years. There are no remains of the crew. All escape pods and secondary craft have been launched, and several airlocks were manually opened from within. A complete absence of identification suggests that this ship was intended for clandestine operations. All data drives have been deliberately erased.
While the Salvage Guild was interested mainly in the fee it could claim for recovering the unmanned Adamastor, investigators from the Wallglass Investigations Agency felt there might be more to the story of this ancient vessel.
I convinced the Alliance Salvage Guild to pass on some serial numbers and stuff that they discovered inside the Adamastor. Then I started scouring databases and interviewing my old sources, and, well, doing my old job. The megaship was owned by a corporation called Azimuth Biochemicals. This was taken over by a similar company called Pharma Sapien, but both were liquidated long ago. No mission records exist, but service crew reports mention that the Adamastor's passengers included scientists and engineers and some kind of military. Eventually, I unearthed a flight plan logged in October 3111. It plotted a course towards Barnard's Loop with fuel for approximately 370 light years and was scheduled to pass by the HIP 39748 and HIP 33386 systems. I'm way too old to head out there myself, but I hope someone can use this info and help satisfy my curiosity about what happened all those years ago.
The trail was a confusing one. During this top-secret 200-year-old voyage, the Adamastor did indeed initially head towards Barnard's Loop, but it doubled back on itself. After considerable research and a certain amount of luck, the geological research base that the Adamastor had been sent to with a mission to recover a mysterious object was located in the Muscadart region PJ-P B6-1 system, very close to the Coalsack Nebula. Accounts recovered from the base and from surrounding sites revealed that this geological survey had come across a string of extremely active Thargoid sites with barnacles and a rich supply of meta-alloys. This may have been the earliest properly documented encounter with Thargoids. While the Thargoids seemed generally benign, the survey team came across a crashed Thargoid ship and recovered something, possibly a Thargoid pilot or a Thargoid sensor, and it was this recovered item that Azimuth Biochemicals was so keen to recover. But something went badly wrong. Some of those on board the Adamastor seemed to have attempted to take over the ship. Many of the Geological Survey team members were gunned down, and others were abandoned at the remote site. This may have been the work of rival company Pharma Sapien, but it was certainly messy, and they didn't get far with their alien haul. The Adamastor started malfunctioning, and the crew were apparently driven mad by whatever their Thargoid cargo was. Whatever happened to them? When the ship arrived back in Chukchan in October last year, neither the crew nor the alien cargo was present.
The Alliance was quick to exploit the newfound source of Thargoid meta-alloys, establishing Beatoncourt Base and a number of other stations in the region, and their partner Sirius Atmospherics started surveying ammonia worlds in the sector with the intention of terraforming them. And on the very last day of 3306, the Thargoids attacked this new attempt to harvest their resources, both in the Corsac Nebula and in the Witchhead Nebula. Admiral Aidan Tanner, military liaison to Aegis Defence, was powerless to act.
This is a resurgence of Thargoid activity on a scale that we have not witnessed for a long time. Unfortunately, drastic reductions in funding and resources mean that Aegis is unable to provide adequate defensive measures.
It was the independent pilots of the Pilots Federation that drove back the Thargoids in both locations, leading to accusations that the Alliance was relying on external military support to protect it, while it profited from plundering Thargoid sites. Professor Albert Tesler, head of Aegis Research, appealed for a re-evaluation of priorities.
Humanity's focus on petty internal conflicts has blinded us to the existential threat of the Thargoids. Their recent horrific attacks should be a wake-up call to the fact that defunding has crippled Aegis's ability to offer protection. We strongly entreat our founders to come together and channel resources towards Aegis, and particularly into research. There can be no hope of coexistence with this alien species unless we increase our understanding of them.